Get your website and software ERP services done right with moderntech.co, where 100% satisfaction is guaranteed. moderntech.co, the best place for mobile applications and web apps. moderntech.co, where you can get your Android and iOS app done on discounted prices and more. moderntech.co. Also follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Modern Tech LLC and Instagram at BondTechCo.
Where my homies at? Here we are.
The RCWR Show with Lee Sanders.
Hey, what's up, my pretty babies? Lee Sanders with you guys for a Monday night edition. It's another Monday night edition of the RCWR Show for this April 22nd, 2024. I cannot believe the month of April is almost over and done with, especially considering the fact that, at least over here on the East Coast, as far as the weather goes, we still are not quite in spring-like temperatures here in the DMV. Take today, for instance. The low to start off the day was in the 30s. Yes, you heard me right. It was in the 30s. If we had a case of plants or whatever outdoors in our backyard, we had to make sure we brought them in overnight so that they wouldn't get that frost chill and everything. We're pretty much going to be in the mid 60s for the most part until at least next week. But I am seeing that there's a couple of mid 80 days in that 10-day forecast. So that's what's going on over here. Hope you guys been well since last I was on the air with you guys. This is our second show, right? Because we were here Sunday night talking about AEW Dynasty. So you guys got to forgive me if I don't dive more into that tonight, because we did do a Dynasty post show on that. If you have not checked it out, it is available on demand and wherever you get your podcast. Just search the RCWR Show. Hey, what did you think about tonight's WWE Raw? Sound off, let your voices be heard. Got the polls up on X, formerly known as Twitter, at the RCWR Show, and up on the YouTube channel. YouTube, click on the Communities tab, cast your vote that way. We'll see what you guys have to say later on in the show. For the 7th time in her respected career, Becky Lynch is your new WWE Women's Champion, at least on the Raw side of things. We had a women's battle royale that went down tonight. It was your main event to determine who was going to become the new women's champion after Rhea Ripley unfortunately had to vacate that championship due to injury. Just a freak accident. I know that Liv Morgan was under the microscope and she was catching a lot of heat from people. A lot of people were blaming Liv, and once I understood the severity of the injury that Rhea Ripley suffered, I did go back because I made it my business. I went out of my way to watch their backstage scuffle. When it's all said and done, my pretty babies, it was just a freak accident. Nothing more, nothing less. It could have happened to anyone. It's very unfortunate and everything. The way it's looking right now, as anything that is related to the arm, the elbow, the collarbone, and just all of that. First things first, you got to see what's going on with therapy, physical rehab, try to see if that might take care of it, or is it going to be a case of surgery? There's a whole lot of factors that go into play here with Rhea Ripley, and things as it stands right now tonight are still a little bit murky. We still don't know definitively how serious of an injury this is to kind of give ourselves a little bit of a timetable as far as her getting back into the ring and everything, but definitely a speedy recovery to Rhea Ripley nonetheless. This main event match, this battle royale, went about 30 plus minutes long, and some of your participants that was in that battle royale, actually all the participants that was in that battle royale, yeah, your man took notes, make sure I was paying attention and everything. Didn't miss anybody. I even noticed when my girl Chelsea Green initially got eliminated, but all the officials, not one official had their eyes on the in-ring action. So they did not see when Chelsea was eliminated because they were trying to see what was going on with Nia Jax, Becky Lynch. I forgot who the third girl was over by the announcer's table and everything, which is a really cool spot and everything. Kudos to WWE for making this be the main event. I didn't realize how much depth, at least on the Raw side of things, I didn't realize how much depth was going on with that women's roster. They've got a serious amount of women on that roster. And when you really stop and think about it, it makes a lot of sense considering the fact Raw's got that third hour. Can't wait to see what happens though when the show moves over to Netflix. More on that in the coming weeks. Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, Shayna Baszler, Maxine Dupree, Indy Hartwell, Nia Jax, Becky Lynch, Natalya, Liv Morgan, Piper Niven, Chelsea Green, Zoe Stark, Candice LeRae, and Ivy Now. These were your participants in the Women's Battle Royale. One of the things that we have been talking about here on this show these past couple of weeks since the injury with Rhea Ripley, I posed the question, who's going to become the new women's champion? And I went on record and I said to you guys, well, look, if it was my way, if I could have it go down, if I had a say, I definitely would put it on Nia Jax because she has just been on a freaking roll since she's been back in the WWE and everything. So my whole thought process was, yo, let it be Nia. Let her rip through the roster and everything. You can, at the same time, build up some really good baby faces in the process and everything. Maybe ultimately you have a face Rhea Ripley come back into the mix. Obviously, she's got to get that revenge on Liv Morgan, but then she could set her eyes on Nia Jax. So that was one of my picks. The other pick that I went with was Becky Lynch. She's that good, steady hand, and you need somebody that is just as popular, that is just as much of a superstar, truly a face of the women's division for Raw as Rhea Ripley was. I made the argument, Becky Lynch, she's that next option you can go with. I never believed for 1 second Liv Morgan was going to, no, not for 1 second. And even when they tried to have it be a case where Liv Morgan was in the final three of that battle royale with Nia Jax and Becky Lynch, I'm looking at this and I'm going, yeah, no, you can miss me with all that. This just is not, no, I'm supposed to believe that Liv Morgan, no. Now, where things did get a little bit interesting, I like that 90 minutes prior to this battle royale, we saw Liv Morgan backstage and she just stumbled across Dominic Mysterio. The two of them did not exchange any words whatsoever. You're looking at that, and boy, a shout out to Dom with the new mustache. I'm liking it. I am liking it. Contrary to the crowd saying, shave your mustache. No. Dom, my man, keep the mustache. Makes you look a little bit more mature, makes you look a little bit more of a badass. And quite honestly, it really makes you look like your father. My God, the resemblance is just so uncanny, freakishly uncanny. The mustache, the mullet, he is a chip off of the old block. And I mean that in the most respectful way possible. But I love that he grew the mustache. The two of them, they had this silent, awkward exchange where they were just looking at one another. So when you saw that about 90 minutes prior to the main event match, you couldn't help but say to yourself, how is this potentially going to be a factor in that women's battle royale match? I'm jumping ahead a little bit in anticipation of that match going, well, maybe just maybe Dominic is going to run some type of interference here. And then considering what all had happened with Dominic earlier in the night, I know we're going a little bit out of place, but at the same time, we're just going with the flow of the conversation, where it takes us and everything. We got to remember Dominic got a verbal spoonful of, maybe you could say, truth or dose of some ego tripping on the part of Damian Priest. Damian Priest telling Dominic Mysterio and JD McDonough he does not need them. He is fine all by himself. If anything, they need him. We saw even before that some very strong words from Damian Priest earlier earlier in the night when he did not appreciate JD McDonough getting into his personal business that pretty much had opened up Monday Night Raw, where Priest had a few words with Jey Uso. That was actually a nice exchange. I felt that Jey Uso held his own pretty well against Priest. Priest's promo wasn't that bad, but it wasn't that good either. It was a little bit average. What is going on with these heel champions that always got to give the baby faces some type of props? Just forget the props. I'm tired of these heel champions giving the baby faces props before they go right into that verbal dig. Just go right to the dig. You ain't got to build them up. You ain't got to put them over. Just go right into the dig and everything. But JD tried to jump Jey Uso from behind, and it pretty much backfired as Jey Uso was able to get off a super kick in the face of Priest, and Priest was just pretty livid about that. And after he got checked on, he told JD, Dominic Mysterio, yo, y'all need to stay out of my business. You handle your business by fighting these guys later on in the night, because there was a tag match. Boy, did that backfire, did it not? So you see all this stuff that was going on where Damian Priest is livid, especially Jey Uso saying to Damian Priest, look, we know who really was the leader of Judgment Day. It was Rhea Ripley, which makes you to be Dom Mysterio. So I would imagine all of those things got Damian Priest fired up big time, and that's how he came at JD and Dominic. So thinking about all of those things, then to see that awkward exchange that I just mentioned between Dom and Liv, I'm going into the Women's Battle Royal under the impression, well, maybe Dom is going to make his presence felt here. Maybe he is definitively about to carve his own path and make his presence felt. To the point, I thought if Liv Morgan is going to become the new women's champion, it's going to be with help from Dominic. And wow, what a great way to go off the air. You got all of this controversy that's going on. You're going to have the fans talking on social media wondering, why would Dom help Liv? What the hell? Why would Dom help Liv? This does not make any sense whatsoever. Why? Nice big buzz of a cliffhanger until you go into next Monday's Raw, considering the fact that it would be night 2 of the draft. And just imagine Damian Priest, yo, what the hell? I can just imagine all of that. So I thought, okay, maybe that's where we're heading here. No appearance by Dominic Mysterio whatsoever, which just made things even more intriguing, because I'm looking at that going, is WWE trying to let us know something is going to develop here between these two? Or no, we just thought this would be cool to do, to have people talking. I'm curious, because it has me definitely now more focused on the draft and seeing exactly where Dom and Liv Morgan are going to land. Like, is she maybe going to be part of whatever new little stable that he's going to try to maybe put together or whatnot? Who knows? Now, a little bit of backlash online already. Hasn't even been an hour, and already there's backlash to Becky Lynch becoming champion. I see people that's already going, Becky Lynch, yeah, but why? And then we've got others that's saying, Becky Lynch, the old Hulk Hogan there. She's the old Hulkster there. Becky Lynch didn't need this championship, man. This don't do nothing for her. What the hell, man? So already there is a bit of negative feedback about Becky Lynch doing this. But then the question becomes, boys and girls, if not Nia Jax, and how I just laid things out for potentially a Liv Morgan championship reign with help from Dom, if not those two or Becky Lynch, then I have to ask you guys, with the current names that I just read to you all, who was supposed to, and I did give an honorable mention to Shayna Baszler as well, as far as becoming women's champion. So if not those names that I mentioned, based off of this list that you all just heard from this women's battle royale, draft is not even in effect yet, who was supposed to come out of this the women's champion? I ask you. More specifically, for those of you that got a problem with Becky Lynch, for those of you that have a problem with Liv Morgan, for those of you that have a problem with Nia Jax, who out of these names, legit, who out of these names was supposed to come out as the new women's champion? There's really no right answer to that, because no matter the name that you select from this battle royale, all those names, with the exception of the ones I said, look, if you're going to make them champion, go ahead, take them out of the equation. The other girls that I just mentioned, what do they all have in common, boys and girls? What they all have in common is a lack of development as far as emotional context with the fans. There is not enough of character buildup. Sure, some of the names there, they're solid, they're decent in the ring, above average in the ring, but as far as that connection with the fans and WWE's booking, as far as making sure that they're building them up to a certain level, sadly, it has not been accomplished with any of these names I just mentioned. And that is the sad truth. That is the sad reality. Remember, I said it here when Rhea Ripley retained her championship at WrestleMania. I said, hey, this is great for Rhea Ripley because she was champion going into WrestleMania and she successfully retained going into Mania. That's good. But on the flip side to that, I also pointed out the fact that, not for nothing, but we really haven't done a good enough job to build up really good women that not only could be good contenders and ultimately face Ripley for the championship, but at the same time are getting that good of enough rub where, okay, in the process of Rhea working a program with this person, she actually elevated them. So beyond the match that she's had with them, she's built them up to a point now, they're their own respected, much like how such great emphasis was put on the bloodline and ultimately Jimmy Uso becoming individuals. Hey, we can market these guys, we can make more money, we can do more story arcs, yada, yada, yada with them as individuals. That same winning formula sadly was not applied to the women's side on Raw. And to a certain degree, you can make the same claim for SmackDown as well, with a few exceptions, but that's the issue. And then something else that you guys need to factor in as well. If the reports are true that Becky Lynch still has not re-upped WWE contract, right? They're still negotiating and all of that, then this is kind of one of those nice, I'm gonna dangle this in front of your face. Hey, Look what happened, Becky, darling. Look, through our respected connections, we were able to get your book put out there. Your book for the third week in a row is a #1 New York Times bestseller. We're getting ready to add more tours for your book signing and all that, right? For your book release. You see, look what we did for you. Oh man, we also got you a championship run. Just imagine what other cool stuff can happen if you continue to. It's all about sweetening the kitty when it's all said and done. But take that, put that to the equation. The question needs to be asked, what other choice did they have as far as who to put that championship run? Remember what I said over the past 2 weeks, especially when Rhea Ripley got injured. I went on record last week and I said to you guys, this has really come back to bite WWE in the ass because you haven't built up anybody else that can easily more viable. Yeah, let's freaking go there. Yeah, that definitely, right? And I said it was a big mistake that WWE put Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill on SmackDown. I felt that. And remember, I said that. Go back last week. I said that. If anything, they should have put Tiffany Stratton on the Raw brand a lot sooner rather than later. Whatever that time frame was that she initially went over to the blue brand, scratch that. They should have initially put her on the red brand and string her up with the victories, let her take on jobbers, and then ultimately feed her the Natalias, feed her the you fill in the blank. That way, by the time you got to tonight, you could have easily gone the Tiffany Stratton route. And I think a lot of people would have been like, okay, new talent. Hey, for those of us that saw what she was doing in NXT, she was killing it. Okay, this is okay. Yeah. I can work with that. This is great. I know that there's also people out there that's not really fans of Nia Jax, so I'm kind of looking at it from those terms as well. But all things considered, even if you weren't going to go, let's just say Tiffany Stratton not on the floor, could you have gone with Nia Jax? Yeah, you could have. By the way, I think she looks fantastic. She's continuing to lose more weight. I was pointing it out to my wife, and we were just admiring her journey so far as far as losing the weight. She looks fantastic and everything, but you really just think about the grand scheme of things. WWE sadly was backed into a corner, which they created themselves. Let's make no mistake about that. Let's make sure we're not, poor WWE. Like, no. They are the victim of their own wrongdoing right here when it's said and done. Food for thought, food for thought. So very, look, Becky Lynch, 7-time champion. Okay, cool. What I care about most, though, is let's see what happens going forward, especially with the draft, how things are potentially going to get shaped up and everything. Let's see what happens as far as new rivalries go potentially. I definitely have my fingers crossed for that one. Some other action that went down. Gunther was back in the house. Remember, we had not seen him since his loss of the Intercontinental Championship to Sami Zayn at WrestleMania, which, by the way, Sami Zayn made a brief appearance. He was backstage being interviewed when Big Bronson Reed came up to him. Sami Zayn, already knowing what time it is, let him know, you want a shot at the championship. Cool. Anytime, any place. Bronson's like, okay, cool. Then just out of nowhere, attacked Sammy, just blindsided him big time. That actually was a nice brawl that went down backstage between those two. Love that. Gunther back in the house with Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser. This was a humbled Gunther that we saw. I must admit, Gunther really taking it on the chin and giving Sami Zayn his props, but also at the same time looking towards the future. And we've got the King of the Ring that's going to be coming up next month, of which Gunther said he is throwing his hat into the mix, and he promises that when he becomes the new King of the Ring winner, he's going to add such great prestige to the title. He's going to give it great meaning and all that. This had prompted New Day to come out, and I gotta be honest with you guys, I've been a New Day fan for a long time. More specifically, I've been a fan of the work of Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods for a long time, but man, they are in a serious drought right now. I have to admit that. And I'm not trying to hear, hey man, us black people, we gotta stick together. Come on, man. Like, no. Ain't got nothing to do with race. You either cooking or you're not. And for the longest time now, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, they have not been cooking. And tonight was really that moment where you truly took a step back as a fan and you couldn't help but admit to yourself, man, these guys, they just have not been the same since Big E got injured. That dynamic, that charismatic, getting the crowd, that it's so interesting to me because I remember those times when Kofi Kingston used to be popping the booty and all that. He'd have some great little zingers here and there. Xavier Woods used to come out with his trombone and he'd serenade the crowd. He'd do all kinds of fun stuff, little fun theatrics, and all of that has just got dramatically scaled back. The promos are the drizzles now. There's nothing funny. It's just hokey dokey. It's gotten to a point where it's become hokey dokey. Even the commercials that they're doing now. You see the latest Snickers commercial that's running around? You got New Day in there, and you're excited to see Big E in there. But even the Snickers commercial, for all it was worth, is hokey dokey. They are very bland now. I hate to say that, but they are. I think if you are truly a fan that appreciates all things wrestling, you can definitely look at what I'm saying. Not of hatred. Oh, you got it personal for. Nothing of that magnitude. You can truly, as a fan, take a step back and go, yeah, they've seemed to miss a step or two. And I don't know if it's because I don't want to say they're no longer hungry, because I don't know what's going on with these guys, so I'm not going to say that. Hungry meaning, hey, we're fighting, we're scratching, we're clawing our way, we're trying to make a name for ourselves. We have a point to prove, and it's right. I don't know if it's a case where they're no longer hungry. There is definitely something these days with this current incarnation of the New Day that's lacking, which really makes me wonder if it might be time for Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods to explore the option of adding a third member into the mix of the New Day. Maybe that would create a whole new interesting, fun dynamic and everything. Look, it happens in life. As we've seen in the world of professional wrestling, tag team partners, something happens, whether it's a unfortunate passing or somebody has a freak accident, or life just changes and they go, this isn't for me anymore, I'm gonna dip out. We've seen it happen with bands, and depending on the position of that band, really awesome that we're talking about bands, by the way, because I'm definitely gonna sound off on the latest Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees and this ridiculous other wing that they got going on. Stick around for that, because we're gonna talk about that later on in the show. Depending on what the position is in that band, we've seen some cases, and I think Allison Chains is a great example where they lost their original lead singer and Lane Staley. Wow, this band is just never, like, you can forget about it. And then took some years, but they ultimately started working with William Duvall. And tell you what, he's not trying to be Lane. He's just doing his own thing. To his own credit, he had his own really cool band that was going on, put out some really great albums. He has become a great successor to Lane Staley, in my personal opinion. What would happen if Eddie Vedder was no longer the singer of Pearl Jam, which they got a new album out, by the way. Look out, as I'll be reviewing that this week. It'll be up on the YouTube channel under our album review playlist. It's been a minute. I was looking at that the other day. Wow, it's been a year. What the hell, right? Most likely, you could forget about Pearl Jam. Ain't gonna be no more. Some would say Pearl Jam is Eddie Vedder. So I think in the case of the New Day, they should maybe start exploring who could be a third member, possibly even a fourth member, do a new incarnation of the New Day. I think that would definitely spice some things up. And now that I've put that question out there, I have to ask you all, if a scenario were to come in the future where New Day gets new members, who would you like to see be part of that group? Sound off, let me know. Gunther, nice seeing the man return as Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston came out there. Xavier pretty much reminding Gunther that, hey, I am the current reigning King of the Ring winner, and I'm looking to win this year's King of the Ring tournament, so I'll be a two-time King of the Ring winner. Gunther wasn't having any of that. He pretty much had told Kaiser and Giovanni to take care of his trash. So this had pretty much set up a tag match between those respected teams while Gunther was at ringside watching all of the festivities go down. Gunther very disappointed because New Day picked up the win. Afterwards, Gunther pretty pissed off at what he was seeing, left in disgust. Meanwhile, Giovanni, who was the one that pretty much got pinned when it was all said and done, Ludwig, Conan O'Brien, as I like to call him, was trying to console him and everything, but as soon as they got outside of the ring, Kaiser lit that behind up, viciously attacking Giovanni Vinci. Man, he beat that boy down. Went backstage, saw that Gunther was looking on, pretty much saying, hey, you like that? You saw what I did? That was for you. Gunther nodding his head in approval. So it would appear that, at least for the time being, until we find out otherwise next week, it looks like Impreium is still a thing, at least between Gunther and Ludwig. Giovanni is the odd man out. Interesting development going on right there. From there, Chad Gable finally breaking his silence on why he attacked Sami Zayn last week. I gotta tell you, it made a lot of sense, but funny at the same time, because as I'm hearing Chad Gable cut this promo, all I could think about was, well, honey, what did you think was gonna happen? You wearing that sexy lingerie, wearing your sexy perfume, and you just flaunting it all in my face in the bedroom. What did you think was gonna happen? Kind of reminding me of that. Gable said that he knows Sami Zayn has had a rough couple of weeks. As far as what Gable did to Sami Zayn last week, it was justified because when the match was over, what did Sami Zayn do? He took that Intercontinental Championship of his, laid it on the canvas right in the face of Chad Gable in the corner as he's sobbing. He is sobbing. He admits this. He's sobbing. He took it on the chin. He was a pro. He gave Sami Zayn his props. But no, that wasn't enough for Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn had to pull him out of the corner, had to raise his hand up and everything. Chad Gable's like, okay, whatever, man. I'm not really sure. Whatever. It is what it is, right? But then where he drew the line was when Sami left the ring, took that championship over to Sami Zayn's wife and started celebrating. That's where Chad Gable drew the line, because as far as he's concerned, that's when it really woke him up that, wait a minute, you're going to do me like that, knowing damn well how much I wanted to raise that championship high in the air as the winner at WrestleMania, how I wanted to present that to my daughter and to my wife. You do all of that, in front of him. He couldn't take it no more. He had to act. That is why he attacked Sami Zayn. Even saying that as far as the training goes, all of that just struck a nerve with him, which brought him to talking about his members of the Academy. Saying to Tozawa, oh, he ripped him real good, saying, yo, you are just idiot. You come out, you do your funny little dance, and what happens afterwards? You lose match after match after match after match. Maxine Dupree said she was pretty, but she was dumb as a box of rocks. Jesus, savage. Got nothing in return in regards to her. Otis, didn't even want to get started on Otis, but ended up saying in regards to his prize pupil, his number one guy, proved himself to be the biggest disappointment of them all. So obviously these members of the Academy, they're looking on Chad Gable. They pretty much ready to, I don't know who this guy think he is. I'm getting ready to dip out. If I don't deck this guy to the canvas, I'm getting ready to roll out. But Chad reminded them, look, this is what you signed up for when you joined me. When you joined the Academy, you wanted that feedback. You wanted that criticism. You were trying to figure out ways to improve, right? This is what you signed up for. Okay, well, going forward, it's no longer going to be about you. It's going to be about me. It's going to be helping me get that IC championship. Can I get an amen? Pretty much that's what he was looking for. He was looking for an amen. He got a reluctant amen. So interesting development going on right there. I'm very curious to see how this will continue to. Now, I'm a stickler for detail. I don't know how you guys personally would feel about this, but just following the storyline continuity, if Chad Gable in this same episode, and I think a lot of you guys are going to be able to jump ahead and see where I'm going here, but for those that don't know, if Chad Gable is giving them the new mission statement that their main priority needs to be getting him that IC championship, putting his needs and wants before theirs, then I ask you, why did we have Maxine Dupree participate in that women's battle royale? There should have been a segment or two after Chad Gable blazed them up where Chad comes across Maxine Dupree getting her training on or whatever and says to her, oh yeah, you got that match coming up later tonight, right? Yeah, the battle royale for the women's championship. She's like, yeah, I bet you're pretty excited for it, huh? Yeah, I remember how excited I was when it came to my opportunity for the IC championship. Remember what I said earlier about we're gonna focus on me? Well, I just spoke with Adam Pearce, and your match, your participation in that match, it's off. I would have loved it because that shows, no. You think you're going to be able to go do this over here? No. That's not how it's going to happen. Not on my watch. It's all about me, right? That would have been nice. That would have been a really, really nice touch had they gone in that direction, just to put that dagger in the back or in the heart a little bit more, while at the same time really building up this new direction that Chad Gable is going in. They missed the boat on that one. We'll see if they are able to rebound on that one. In-ring action for tonight. Sheamus taking on Shinsuke Nakamura. That actually was a pretty good matchup. It came after Sheamus had a few exchanges with his good friend Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre coming out there still as salty as ever about everything that's transpired in the last couple of weeks. Sheamus coming out, showing him some tough love, letting him know, hey man, you gotta stop with this pity party. It's driving you insane. You need to move on already. I'm your best friend. I'm just giving it to you right between the eyes. Drew McIntyre coming right back, pretty much saying, well, let me tell you a truth that you probably don't want to hear, but let's be honest, you're fat. Burger after burger after burger after burger. Hey, and by the way, I tried telling my friends this and it kind of fell on deaf ears. So I just want to make sure that this is really stressed. I think there's a small amount of you guys that know better and everything, but I hope many people realize that when you look at Sheamus' return last week, the picture that is in circulation where he looks like a big old tub, that was altered. When you look at the actual picture of Sheamus, not altered, you're going, fat. He's fat where? And it's so funny because I even said it again tonight. I said on Twitter, how is Sheamus fat? And somebody actually responded to that. That was a sarcastic question. I wasn't looking for a reply, but somebody was trying to be nice and say, oh, well, he's a little tubby. And I'm thinking to myself, he's 46 years of age. How many grown-ass men would love to have the type of body that Sheamus has, where the only thing a person can say is, he's getting a little tubby. He's got a tiny little tummy. Just have a little tummy and not have any type of health complications whatsoever. That would be like a blessing. At 46 years old, just a couple of years away from turning the big 5-0, you know how many grown-ass men right now that's in their 20s, 30s, and 40s that are obese as hell, dealing with some type of health complications, whether it's diabetes or name it. You know how many would kill to be in Sheamus shape? And we're going to say, oh, he's fat. If that is society's definition of fat, I would hate to see society's definition of what is pretty. But you know what? Shout out to Sheamus. Shout out to Sheamus being a good pro about it on social media, to the point of what all went down tonight as they went on ahead and took those jokes being said about him on social media and turned it into a arc between Sheamus and Drew. I loved it. Sheamus looks good. A guy that honestly thought he wasn't going to be wrestling again and was just trying to do everything in his power to physically be in a position where he can have some type of quality of life post wrestling. Like I said to you guys last week, enjoy what's happening with Sheamus right now, because we could be very well looking at one last run with this guy. I'm knocking on wood, hoping that he's able to stay healthy and everything. I'd be shocked if 3 years down the road, he's still wrestling. Honestly, I'm thinking a year and a half, 2 years tops at most before he hangs it up and everything. Great match though between Sheamus and Nakamura. From there, Ricochet, Andrade teaming up to take on JD and Santos Escobar. Ricochet and Andrade picking up the win. Damien Priest pissed off afterwards, attacking everybody. We pretty much had told you about that a couple of minutes ago. Should make things really interesting when we get ready to see what happens with the draft, beginning with this Friday's SmackDown, because what we just saw go down tonight with Damien Priest declaring he doesn't need them, they need him, we very well could be seeing the end of Judgment Day as we speak. Interesting to see what goes down on SmackDown this Friday. I will be on air. I think the way that we're going to do it, make sure you guys set your DVRs, by the way, because there isn't going to be an episode of Rampage this Friday. Due to the NBA playoffs, Rampage has been pushed to this Saturday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you guys set your DVR. I think what we'll do is we'll come on Friday night at 10:30. Come on sooner, great, but I'll come on at 10:30 and we'll talk about what happened with the first night of the draft. Also go over some wrestling news, little tidbits, preview Monday night's Raw, try to figure out how the whole draft is going to play out that way and everything. DIY losing in a attempt to become tag champions as Awesome Truth managed to retain. Average match, by the way, between DIY and Awesome Truth. Honestly, I just found myself flipping back and forth when that match was on, because I was watching whatever game one of the NBA playoffs was on TNT. I was checking that. I was more interested in that than that match. I'm not going to even lie to you guys. You pretty much had average matches tonight. I would say around the C, maybe C plus range, with the exception of Nakamura and Sheamus. That for me was definitely the match of the night. Even the Ricochet Andrade taking on JD McDonough, Santos Escobar, I thought that was a bit average as well. Y'all already know how I feel about a battle royale, but given the fact that this was for a women's championship and they made sure they put a lot of time in it, they gave it about almost 25 minutes and everything, which was fine. WWE, for all intents and purposes, they went with the safe pick, and there's nothing wrong given the circumstances of what we just highlighted earlier. It was nice seeing Becky Lynch at the end going into the crowd, hugging the fans. I could be wrong, but I think she unintentionally bumped into a little kid. Maybe the kid was trying to get her attention
mentioned she didn't see them initially, but she showed them a lot of love. I particularly loved her embracing a lot of the young girls that were within range and everything. There was one girl, she looked like she might have been maybe 10 years of age, and you could tell on her face how much it meant to her to have that moment with Becky Lynch. She had brown hair that was pinned back into a ponytail. She looked like she was damn near crying. But all in all, I would say a good of enough episode for the simple fact of that good feel moment at the end with that women's battle royale. Not to mention hyping up the return of King and Queen of the Ring, hyping up Backlash as well, mentioning the fact that Clash at the Castle is going to be going down. There was also news about WWE doing something in Las Vegas for NXT Battleground. Is going to be at the UFC, I guess, training compounds or whatever in Las Vegas. So there was like a whole lot of stuff that was being heavily promoted here on this episode. This was one of those episodes where you're like, man, I can't believe WWE has like so many pieces that's going on here. There's quite a few things that's going to be coming up, but I would say average, maybe above average episode of Raw that we got this week. Let's see what you guys had to say for our polling results. Going to X first at the RCWR show. Shout out to our guys that's watching via X. Right now, I am seeing that there are 21% of you that felt it was a fantastic show tonight, while 36% of you thought it was a good show overall. Top dog right now, 42% of you said it was a terrible show. I wonder if that 42% that said that, I wonder if they're sour over the fact that Becky Lynch is the champion yet again, and they really weren't thinking about things the way we broke it down earlier. Let's see what you guys had to say over on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/the RCWR show. Click on the communities tab, and you guys can vote that way. And right now, tie at 20% for average show, terrible show. Meanwhile, top dog, 60% of you said it was a good show. So appreciate you guys that voted. Make sure you continue to sound off. Let your voices be heard. I am trying some new ginger ale tonight. So over the weekend, me and my wife, we went to the Fresh Market. First time ever. I think we went in there because I needed to use the restroom. But I remember afterwards we were looking around and it was, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, hey, nice. And so I ended up shopping there today. And one of the things that I had got was this new ginger ale. It's new for me because I've never seen it before. I never had it before. It's from Fever Tree, and it's called Premium Ginger Ale with natural flavors, including our signature blend of 3 gingers. Classic ginger ale, crisp and classic. That's the taste. And it is oh so smooth. This is how it looks, so you guys can get a really good idea and everything. You get 4 bottles, which is 6.8 fluid ounces each, so about 200 milliliters. Small bottles. You get 4 bottles in a little pack, and it's about $7, maybe $8, but it's so damn good. You guys gotta definitely check it out. Forgive me here, I gotta take a quick swig. That is good. Definitely want to have that nice and ice cold. They got really good sandwich wraps up there too. I definitely recommend the sandwich wraps they got up there too. Check that out when you guys get a chance. Appreciate you guys that had cast your votes, by the way, for AEW Dynasty. Now, I saw with our YouTube community, not that many of you guys ended up checking out Dynasty. There really wasn't that much voting that went down for AEW Dynasty. Now, if you did see Dynasty, you could still vote via the YouTube poll. But at this point, I'm mainly going to pay attention to the end results for Dynasty on X. And the way it's looking, because I did say a little bit over 24 hours ago, we'd come back, see what the final tally was and everything. 6% of you felt that AEW Dynasty was a terrible show, while 13% of you thought it was an average show. 33% of you said it was a great show. And top dog, 46% of you thought it was a fantastic show. I see some of my colleagues in the podcasting world, they're getting ripped new you-know-whats left and right for their personal opinions on what they thought about that match between Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson. And some of the comments are just very mean-spirited. I'm looking at this and going, look, a person can be entitled to their own opinion. They don't need your permission. They don't need your approval. Not everybody likes Metallica. Not everybody likes Nickelback. Just because you don't like it, I don't mean you gotta shove your will, your agenda down that other person's throat that does like that Nickelback, that does like that Metallica. So it was really, really weird seeing that. For some of my friends and colleagues in the podcasting world saying, oh man, this was the greatest wrestling match I've ever seen in the history of wrestling. I'm still going, I don't know if I'd go that far, but was it a damn good wrestling match? Is it a wrestling match that everybody should go out of their way to check out? Yes, without a shadow of doubt. Is it a match of the year candidate? Yes, without a shadow of doubt. But I'm not gonna be rageaholic over the fact that they're going, greatest wrestling match in the history of wrestling. I'm not gonna go rage roid alert on them. It's like, okay, that's on them. But just some of the people that's commenting and then really taking it to, right, there's, hey, let me just push back on that a little bit. And then there is, wow, so we're going the name calling route and all this other crap. Just, Jesus. Did you see the stuff that was going on, by the way, on social media? JoJo, Bray Wyatt's widow. So there's a video that's floating around. JoJo was out with Liv Morgan, and I don't know who the other girl was that was in the back seat, but it looks like some music was playing and they're having a good time. They're singing to whatever the song is. And JoJo has on this black short sleeve shirt, nice pair of Daisy Dukes on, and she's smiling and doing nice dances. Not as far as her dancing goes, it's nothing that is, that is pretty, that's raunchy. Nothing of that magnitude. How many kids did she give to Bray Wyatt? My point is, some women are going to have some curves that they normally wouldn't have, right? In a good way. And you could see that she has some nice curves going on. This fan types up, Bray Wyatt died months ago. I'm just looking at that and I'm going, yeah, what is your point? So for this guy, he found it to be disgusting and disrespectful that she was conducting herself this way as her husband has not even been dead a year. It was nice to see the wrestling community pretty much rip this guy a new you-know-what. Because let me tell you something, boys and girls, everybody grieves differently. To our younger listeners out there that make their rounds checking out different podcasts and all that, you'll learn in due time. You definitely are somebody that has not experienced, most likely, the loss of a loved one. Because if you truly did, and they meant that much to you, then you know without a shadow of doubt, everybody has their own way of grieving. I'll never forget, not to be long and drawn out and everything, but I'll never forget when my mother lost her brother, my uncle. This was in the early 90s. He died by a drive-by shooting. When it was all said and done, he owed some guys money for some drugs that he bought off of them. It was kind of one of those, let me get that now and I'll pay you later. When it came time for later, he didn't have that money. He paid the price. That's how the streets work. My mom took his passing so hard that I remember she would confide herself into her bedroom. We could barely get her to eat. Remember, me and my aunt, we kept making all kinds of different foods, especially sandwiches, trying to get my mother to eat something. She was just in this dark headspace. She did not want to eat. She did not want to drink. All she wanted to do was sleep. If she wasn't sleeping, she was crying. If she wasn't sleeping, she wasn't crying. She was talking. Like, it was almost like she was talking to his spirit. Bad headspace. I remember my family, and I don't say this as a Debbie Downer. I say this so you guys can really connect here and everything for our younger listeners and everything. I remember my family members tried to get her to go, hey, we're going to go eat. My grandmother, she definitely took it pretty hard. But even she was trying to be proactive and somehow pick up the pieces, move the family together and everything. But it took a good minute for my mom to get out of that headspace. Took her a good minute. I remember for the time that we had lived out in California. I would say a year, maybe a year and a half. That death really messed her head up to the point when we first moved to DC. It took her quite a few years to really gather up the pieces and move on. So when I say that whole grieving process, it's different for everybody. Let me tell you something. In the case of my mother, who went down a very dark spiral, and I'm very proud of the fact that eventually she somehow got herself out of that. I don't think I'm exaggerating this, but just based off everything that I saw, it took her at least 10 years before she finally was able to pick up the pieces and move on. My whole point of mentioning that story and linking it back to JoJo, boys and girls, don't you ever try to tell somebody how they should grieve and how long they should grieve, because at the end of the day, you don't personally know them. And in the case of JoJo, you know her as a public figure, so to speak. You don't know anything about her on a personal level other than what she has shared in interviews and that Bray Wyatt documentary. But even at that, what you may know does not give you a license to try to dictate to her, people like her that have lost a loved one, how they need to live their life. You feel where I'm coming from? So keep that in mind, right? You do you and keep it moving along. It was just really, really heartbreaking to see, this guy. Who made this guy high and mighty? Like, what the hell? Seriously, what the hell? I'm looking at this guy's profile and everything. I'm like, who is it? Dr. Drew? Dr. Ruth? That one's probably going to go over a lot of people's heads. If you remember that one, shout out to you guys. But I'm just going like, who is this guy? I look at this person's profile and apparently they call themselves a writer, editor, and loves to cover pro wrestling. And it was like, oh, okay, so you're another one of those some dumb fucks that copy and paste stuff from the other guys that's actually doing the real legwork. That's what's going on here. That was probably, to start off the week, that was probably the most saddest, stupidest thing that I saw. You can't tell somebody how they need to grieve and how long they need to grieve. Everybody is different. Shout out to TNA. I'm aware that they had a pay-per-view. I'm not ready to talk about the pay-per-view yet because I have not seen it, sadly. So I want to watch it. I'm well aware that Matt Hardy did appear at the end and he attacked Moose while holding the TNA World Heavyweight Championship up high. That got a lot of social media talking, wondering whether or not Matt Hardy was in TNA. Like, did he sign? And Matt Hardy quickly took to social media and said that he is a free agent. He goes as he pleases. I know initially Matt Hardy had caused a little bit of buzz online because he liked and quoted one of those howdy doody little QR codes. You were kind of under the impression, oh, is he kind of letting the fans know he's getting ready to do something here with the WWE, that maybe he's somehow part of this whole mix and everything. So that got a lot of people talking, but it looks like Matt Hardy essentially piggybacked off of that to ultimately set himself up for, no, just doing something over here for TNA. Now, it doesn't mean that he won't do anything for WWE, right? Anything probably can still happen as far as him returning to the WWE. Jeff Hardy as well. Jeff Hardy, interesting development going on with Jeff Hardy there, because reports are coming out now Hardy was going to be around in AEW at least until 2025, considering he was out on whether it was injury or legal issues. Many were under the impression that Tony Khan and crew were going to get some of that time back and add it on, but instead it looks like his contract is going to be expiring sometime in 2024 in the next couple of months. Whether or not Tony Khan decides, you know what, we're going to add more time because this guy owes me time, or I don't even know if there is a pickup renewal option. But if that's a factor as well, right, one of those two scenarios, if not both, could come into play. So that's going to be very interesting to see where the Hardys end up. I really hope that the Hardys end up going back to WWE just one last time and then somehow make the transition into being producers and all that. I'll tell you this, though. When they do go back to the WWE, without a shadow of doubt, they are going into, I think, that respected year's WWE Hall of Fame, because at this point, WWE is running out of some big name headliners, are they not? I mean, really, besides the Hardys, who else is left there? So you kind of have to keep that going in the back of your mind. I'm seeing this report, and a lot of people are doing a lot of copying and pasting about this one. TNA allegedly had internal discussions about the possibility, just the possibility, about bringing back Tessa Blanchard. I know that name brings up some pretty strong emotions with some of you guys. Am I a firm believer in everybody makes mistakes, everybody can learn from their mistakes, and everybody can do better? Yes, I am a firm believer in that. I am a firm believer in second chances. Okay, so let's get that out the way right now. Again, this was rumored that TNA is just preliminary talks. But the one thing that I saw that was lacking from all the reports that pretty much was copying and pasting this story within the last 48 hours, what it was lacking is the fact that Tessa Blanchard has been doing her thing in the military for a good minute now. Now, she did say, I believe it was either on a social media post and or in an interview, that there is still that part of her that feels there's a lot she can offer to professional wrestling, that she still feels there's more contributions she can make and everything. Whether or not she'll have that chance remains to be seen. And we've documented well here on the show over the years some of the issues that has come about with Tessa Blanchard. But all the reports I was seeing failed to mention the fact that she's been involved with the military since things had essentially blew up with WOW, Women of Wrestling and all that. So, you know, it really depends on how far along she is with her military, because she's won a couple of awards so far. Do your research. You'll see what I'm talking about. But depending on how far along she is with her military career, how serious she is about it, going through the ranks and all of that. Is she doing some form of deployment? Because remember, she was doing a little something with her husband at that time, now ex-husband. Remember, they were in the military together. So there's so much that's in the air right now that, you know, we really don't know. But I think it's definitely important to have as much of a full picture as you can get. And in this case, with the Tessa Blanchard situation, that can be kind of tricky depending on how deep of a career she has in the military right now. I say that because she may not be in a position where, even if she wanted to sign with a wrestling promotion that would have her tomorrow, if she is doing some form of a deployment, she's going to have to finish out her service first before. So whether or not we've seen the last of her in wrestling, that remains to be seen. That remains to be seen. TNA announced that Eric Young and Brian Myers still not medically cleared to compete. Both of those men are dealing with some medical issues right now. Nothing too major. They just not ready to come back yet. Shout out to AEW's The Blade. He revealed that he is out with a back injury. He posted on social media letting fans know that he is nursing a lower back injury, as he's got two bulging discs, his L2, L3, and L4, also L5, plus two ruptured discs, L3, L4, and L5, S1. So that's what's going on with him right now. The physical therapy, he noted, is helping him stay on track, as he gives them a lot of praises and everything. So he's pretty much taking it one step at a time as far as what's going on with his recovery. Definitely wish him the very best. Speaking of AEW, they've got a Forbidden Door pre-sale code that's going on right now for those of you that may be interested, as this is going to be happening at the USB Arena in Long Island, New York. Wonder if we might get a certain scumbag of the earth making their return. Who knows? But the code, for those of you that are interested, AEW FD, so Forbidden Door basically, AEW FD, the numbers 24, AEW FD24. Check that out when you guys get an opportunity. Let's talk about these WWE releases. I do have some things I want to say in regards to them. I'm looking at the names. I'm going, okay, of the people released, one really stands out to me, right? Obviously. So we get a new update earlier Monday that apparently Von Wagner was released last week. You go, okay, Von Wagner, son of Wayne Bo Beverly Bloom of the Destruction Crew and the Beverly Brothers. Remember, Von Wagner signed to WWE in 2019. He did a handful of house shows, dark matches, and it wasn't until 2021 when he came up to the NXT roster, and he had some feuds that was going on. I remember he was feuding with Legado del Fantasma. I remember when initially he was feuding with Kylie O'Reilly, and then eventually they went and formed a tag team, and ultimately Von Wagner turned on Kylie O'Reilly when he was trying to compete there for the NXT championship. I don't know if it was an eliminator or whatever, but there was Pete Dunne, LA Knight, a whole bunch of people that was involved in that. His friendship, rivalry turned friendship there with Robert Stone of the Robert Stone brand. That was kind of weird what was going on with that. I remember when they did that infamous segment now where Von Wagner had confided in Robert Stone about his numerous surgeries and all of that. Somehow in the process, both of them became baby faces, and ultimately Von Wagner, I think, turned on Robert Stone. Remember, one of the last times that we saw Wagner was when Braun Breaker took those steel steps and went upside the head there of Wagner, and that was September of last year that we last saw him. So look, the man had been pretty much with WWE since 2019, and it's now 2024. Obviously, you can make an argument that as far as his development goes, the progress, just everything, it just got to a certain point, and he reached that peak. Couldn't get over. It happens. Look, I don't know if we'll see him anywhere else. If we do, maybe it's TNA, maybe it's NWA. I would really be shocked to see him in AEW. I gotta tell you, like, no way, no how, right? I see him on the much smaller food chain of promotions there. Indus Veer Mahan and Sangha, they were released as well. Look, both of those guys, they signed with WWE in 2018. I don't even need to be long-winded with them. Enough said. I gotta admit, when I first saw those guys, I'm going, yeah, I don't really know. I get why Vince McMahon and crew probably, but like, yeah, no, this is dead on arrival. I always felt that way. I don't want to say I was proven right, but they tried so much. Look, if the one thing that you can remember is Veer Mahan coming soon, that's kind of messed up. I mean, seriously, we remember those graphics, Veer Mahan coming, right? All those funny looking faces. That was the best running gag that they had going on. It was almost like WCW, and when it came to Sub-Zero. Coming soon, Sub-Zero. Remember those vignettes? Getting all excited and everything. Like, okay, next week is going to happen. Doesn't happen. The next week, coming soon. Okay, coming soon. Right. We was waiting a good minute there, man. Xia Li signed with the WWE in 2017. Xia Li, that's a tricky one. I think WWE... Triple H had the vision. I'll definitely give him that. He had the vision, and he had the right execution. And they tried. Lord knows, they tried to make it work on the main roster and everything with her, but it just never clicked. That's one where I go, you know what? In this particular case, let her go get the experience elsewhere and build her character up and all of that. Maybe, just maybe, eventually, if she wants to come back to WWE. And that was a nice statement that she put out. I'd recommend you guys go check out her social media. She put out a nice class act of a statement putting over WWE. I would not be surprised if we saw her again in the WWE. I did my research because I'm going, has she ever worked on the independents prior to WWE? And it looks like that wasn't the case at all. Before joining WWE, you know, as many of you guys probably know, she was a lifelong combat sports athlete, and she competed very heavily in the martial arts. She founded her own fitness studio and won many tournaments when it came to the martial art competitions and everything. So I'm keeping that in mind, and I'm going, well, you know what? Maybe her joining Stardom, NJPW, right, doing the thing, Japanese wrestling and all that. Maybe her doing something with those promotions would do her wonders. I think if she's really serious about her craft and really getting it down and everything, maybe going overseas to those promotions is the answer. But that's somebody I would be shocked to hear, yeah, as far as wrestling goes, I'm done. I tried it and now I'm just over. I'd be very, very shocked. Like, of all the people, if I could talk to them and say, look, I think you definitely have something going here, but you just need to work on maybe these mechanics a little more. Like, her in-ring work, I felt was pretty decent. Where I thought she was personally lacking was the personality and the connection with the audience and everything. So maybe her somehow bringing that to full blossom, but with help from another promotion, maybe she'll be able to achieve that. We'll have to wait and see. Zion Quinn, the former rugby player, did rugby for 8 years. We saw him messing around there with Robert Stone, Quincy Elliott, Santos Escobar, Joe Gacy. Every time I would see this guy, whenever I would tune into NXT, yeah, he definitely had the size. There's no doubt about that, but he came off extremely bland. Remember, he signed with the WWE. I think he was in the WWE almost about the same length of time as some of the other names I mentioned. They tried with him. That's another one where you just go, you either got it or you don't. And they gave him more than enough ample time to try to figure it out. I wouldn't be surprised if he just quietly is done with the wrestling altogether and everything. Now, one name that was surprising, which brings us to the last name on the list here. And I see nothing but big things happening for this individual. Many promotions will definitely be happy to have this man, and that is Jinder Mahal, who's been with the WWE since 2010. And he was down there with the FCW developmental plant, right? That's how far back Jinder Mahal goes with the WWE and everything. Jinder Mahal, I found to be the most surprising release by the company. And, before anybody goes, because I've already heard this narrative, I've already had a few people at me and say the following. Yeah, especially since he's a WWE champion. Like, I hear where people are coming from, right? But we're getting so caught up on, but they're a former champion. Like, that doesn't even matter. How about we just go with the fact that Jinder Mahal has been with the company since 2010? How about we go with the fact that Jinder Mahal had one of the most awesome exchanges there with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? How about the fact that Jinder Mahal had the whole world buzzing on social media when Tony Khan had spit that social media crap at Jinder Mahal for getting a world title shot, and Jinder Mahal coming right back and pretty much owning Tony Khan? That's just for starters. You don't even need to mention the fact that the guy's a former world champion, because of the fact that not many people are going to remember that. How about going with the fact that when it came to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and other WWE wrestlers that were coming off of some form of injury, that Jinder Mahal was one of the main ones that was working with them in the ring, helping them get in-ring ready? How about the fact that Jinder Mahal was always loaning himself to folks backstage at whatever events they were at, whenever he would be around the performance center, always trying to provide his feedback, give tips, and all that up-and-coming wrestlers. Jinder Mahal was definitely somebody that was a team player, would always go above and beyond, and was trying to be, besides a team player, really be a good aspiring leader in his own right, you could say. So to see that Jinder Mahal has been released, you're looking at that move and you're going, damn, what the hell is going on here? right? Now, you got the reports flying around there by PW Insider, Fightful, and all those guys that what pretty much has been told with all of these people that's been released is nothing that you did wrong. It's just budget cuts. We're factoring in your tenure with the company, essentially how much money you could potentially be making the longer the tenure with the company, not to mention creatively, we just don't have anything for you. I gotta say, to hear how these conversations were held with all the people that were released and how respectful it was compared to the old regime, it is a nice touch. It is a nice, respected touch. I really gotta say. I'm still trying to figure out, though, what happened with that longtime employee and Sue Atchison, 40 years, and hopefully she is getting some type of a party, some type of a celebration there, because 40 years with the same employer, that's something there. Jinder Mahal, no doubt he's going to be wrestling for whoever. But here's the thing. He'll be able to work for whoever, but it's all about creatively, who is going to really embrace Jinder Mahal, his ideas, no matter how controversial they may be and all of that. Who's going to really go, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to go balls to the walls, fun. We're going to have mad fun, creative fun pushing this, because you know what the man is capable of. He's got more charisma and all that than some people I'm looking at across some of these promotions. He's going to get signed. I have no doubt about that. By the way, should be an interesting interview that he gives this week. I think Chris Van Vliet, if I saw it right on social media, he's supposed to be sitting down with him and everything. I'm looking forward to that. I am actually looking forward to that. So shout out to Rob Feinstein of our video. Hopefully, as far as a shoot interview goes, because it's been a minute, hopefully he's able to sit down and do something there with the modern day Maharaja. But I always felt initially that when I first saw Jinder Mahal, I felt, okay, second coming of Muhammad Hassan. And there was so many opportunities over the years where they could have utilized Jinder Mahal, especially with everything that's happening overseas, what's happening many courses over the years. I just felt, man, they got something here. They can really push the envelope here, blend in fact or fiction, right? But they never went there. They always went the safest route, the comedic route, the slapstick. They always went that route. But I always felt, nah, Jinder's so much more than that. You can really build this man up properly. What are you guys doing? Trust me when I say the best of Jinder Mahal's work has yet to be seen. And when he goes out there on the independents, he's going to be making some heads turn. I promise you that. So those are the WWE releases. Definitely wishing all of those people the best. It sucks hearing about some of these releases, but when you get right down to the heart of the matter, at the end of the day, it's never personal. It's just all about business, man. One last thing that we'll get into. I'm aware about Bill Goldberg and his comments about AEW. Bret Hart was right. That's all I got to say. Let's talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here. So the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees have been announced, and they include Ozzy Osbourne, Foreigner, Cher, Mary J. Blige, Dave Matthews Band, Peter Frampton, Kool and the Gang, and A Tribe Called Quest. Yo, I love this. I love this list. First of all, Foreigner and Peter Frampton. Years upon years upon years upon years upon years getting snubbed since they initially qualified. So the fact that they are finally going in. When it comes to Hall of Fames, any Hall of Fame, I don't care what it is. I don't know how you guys do it, but if you throw a name at me, if I hesitate for even 2 seconds, they're not in the Hall of Fame. Like, as far as first ballot Hall of Fame, they're not in the Hall of Fame. So if you say to me, Kumo D, Hall of Fame, okay? If you say to me, Taylor Swift, I go, no. Okay, right? Nothing personal. Sorry, Swifties. Nothing personal, right? I'm sure that's going to trigger a lot of Swifties, though. I'm sure that's going to trigger a lot of Swifties. But you get the point that I'm making here, right? All of these names, and I was reading a recent interview where Lou Gramm, former lead singer of Foreigner, he said, you best believe if we get the nod to officially go in, I will be there, and I'll be performing one of the songs. I'll definitely be there. So it was nice to hear that. And apparently, I think it was maybe sometime in the 90s, Lou Gramm and the guitar player, I can't think of his name right now, forgive me, but they had sat down and they had some rough cuts of some new songs. And they did about 8, maybe 9 tracks. And the guitar player, he lost his CD copy, asked Lou, hey, do you have your copy? Lou was like, yeah, here. And ain't heard nothing since. He said it was some really good music that he hopes will one day maybe see the light of day, but he doubts it. Maybe with this Hall of Fame, maybe that can patch things up, who knows. Tribe Called Quest, hell yeah. Come on, man. Phife Dawg, Ali, Shaheed, Muhammad, Q-Tip, Jerobi, yes. Midnight Marauders, man, I pushed the hell out of that damn album, man. I pushed the hell out of that album. Man, that's one of those albums that you can listen to from beginning to end, back, forth, right? That album just totally kicks ass. Seriously. Midnight Marauders, Award Tour. Come on, man. Low End Theory. Love Movement. Beats, Rhymes, Life. We Got It From Here. Thank You For Your Service, which came out in 2016. That was a damn good send-off for Tribe. Damn good send-off. Because remember, they lost Phife Dawg, I think like a year prior to that album and all that. So, yeah, they definitely, for their contributions to the industry and the fact that they were one of the originals of the whole neo-soul movement, if you will, right? Because them, Common, Erykah Badu, D'Angelo, De La Soul, they all were part of that whole realm there, right? It was a magical time back in the day. Yeah, definitely they deserve to go in. Mary J. Blige, she's done a lot of good hits, a lot of hits. I remember back in the day, a lot of my issues with Mary J. Blige was, man, she's always taking a classic song and she's doing a remake on it. And for me, it was getting so annoying. I'm like, where's some original songs from Mary J. Blige, right? And I remember when I said that, I'll never forget when I said that. My wife's best friend, and a couple of other, female friends of theirs, they got on my ass. They was like, no, she did. And she sung. It was like, okay, all right, y'all put me in my place. I'm gonna shut up now. It's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. Mary J. Blige. No, I'm happy that she's going in. Cher. I'm very surprised Cher wasn't already in. Very surprised that Cher wasn't already in. Same thing goes for Peter Frampton. Ozzy Osbourne, look, let me tell you something. Ozzy definitely deserves to go in as a solo act. Like, is Black Sabbath even in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I hope Black Sabbath is in, because if I'm looking at somebody going, yeah, you should be a 2-time Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, Ozzy Osbourne is that Ric Flair, right? Okay, you're going to go in as a solo act, but you're also going to go in for your work with the Horsemen, right? Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne as a solo act, what a great fucking catalog. Seriously, but you know what really made Ozzy Osbourne his material for, all those great hits. You know what really made it work? The countless musicians that he was able to work with, the writers. And I really hope that when it comes to him giving his speech, I really hope that he pays it forward and he recognizes all those people that helped him along the way there, because it wasn't all on him. It was not all on him. I know we had that period in time too where Ozzy Osbourne had went and remastered, remixed. See, there's a big difference when you remaster, some of your work. You're basically just enhancing the sound, you're cleaning stuff up, right? But then when you're remixing stuff and you're taking certain things out, it's like, I remember several years ago, I know some of you music fans do as well, there was a ton of Ozzy Osbourne albums from a particular period. He had a fallout with somebody, I can't remember who it was. And basically him and Sharon Osbourne, they saw to it that that person was omitted from that period of Ozzy albums. And basically they had, I don't know if it was Zakk Wylde, but they had somebody else come in and record over those parts. And you're going, come on, man. Like, what the hell? You can't just pretend like this person never existed, like they never contributed to those albums. What the hell are you talking about? So without a doubt, Ozzy Osbourne does need to go in, but hopefully he recognizes those people that have helped him along the way, makes a speech and everything, acknowledging those names. Kool and the Gang. I would have thought Ben got in. That's a long time coming for them. Dave Matthews Band. I've always been a big fan of the Dave Matthews Band. Now, what I'm curious about is if Boyd Tinsley is going to be given the invitation to attend the ceremony. And the reason why I mention that, for those of you that don't know, Boyd Tinsley used to be the violinist for the Dave Matthews Band. He pretty much was one of the co-founding members of the band. About 7, maybe almost 10 years ago, Boyd Tinsley made the news because it was really, really bad. He allegedly sexually assaulted a young teenage boy. I think he was maybe around 16, somewhere between 16 and 19 or something like that. And he was promising, this guy, hey, you stick with me, XYZ, you're going to have a nice career. Your career is very promising and all of that. And it was really, really bad. I remember when it made the headlines, and, it's funny because, actually it's not funny, but ironic is the word I wanted to use. I remember when Boyd Tinsley had initially stepped down from the Dave Matthews Band. It came as a shock to fans because they were wondering, what's going on? Is his health okay? Is everything all right? And at the time, I remember when I was reacting to the news, I think I had said on the show way back then, something feels kind of off here. Wonder if there's some type of a storm brewing. And if so, if we'll learn about it. Because initially, when he stepped down from the band, he made the comment that he wanted to spend more time with his family, yada, yada, yada. And then within 6 months, that unfortunate news had came out, and Dave Matthews Band immediately said, Boyd Tinsley, like, this is the only time we're going to mention this guy's name, but, he's out of the band. We're disgusted by, what's being reported, and, we stand with the victims, blah, 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 yakety smackety. And that pretty much was it for Boyd Tinsley. He tried making a comeback a couple of years back. It didn't go nowhere. It did not go nowhere. So I'm wondering if, with the time that has passed, I'm just wondering, I don't remember. I kind of feel as though Boyd Tinsley ended up settling things out of court with that victim. So I wonder if Dave Matthews Band is going to extend an invitation to him to attend the ceremony. I hope not. I hope they let it be known. We may be going into the Hall of Fame, but your ass is not invited. And if you try to show up, your ass is going to be escorted out. You'll be kicked off on site. So we'll see with that one. But Dave Matthews Band, not for nothing, but whether you hate them, loathe them, whatever you want to call it, make no mistake about it, they made some significant contributions in the 1990s. I mean, their mashup of folklore music mixed in with bluegrass, I'm telling you how it comes off to me. Jam sessions, jazz fusion, little bit of rock. I mean, they're just all over the place. You know, they really had the world in the palm of their hands back in the 90s. I know that's kind of hard to, especially when you maybe listen to their music now, whether you're listening to a classic album of theirs or you're listening to a newest release and you're like, wait a minute, these guys were a popular act back in the 90s. How is that even humanly possible? But they really did have the world in their hands back in the 90s. From the 90s, I would say from 1991, 92, going until I would say kind of feels like maybe 2008, maybe almost 2010. That was their time period. I'm looking at their albums right now. Yeah, I said it right. Because they had some independent EPs that they would just release from the back of their cars and all that. So yeah, I would say 91, 92, going until 2005, 6, maybe even 2007. That was their reign of dominance. I mean, a lot of awards that they won left and right. Dave Matthews, a hell of a songwriter, but one of the meanest on the guitar. One of the meanest, very underrated. He does not get enough praise for his guitar work alone. So that should be an awesome night. I'm looking forward to seeing this ceremony when it goes down. In addition, Jimmy Buffett, MC5, Dionne Warwick, and Norman Whitfield will be inducted under the Musical Excellence Award category, while Alex Croner, John Maywall, and Big Mama Thornton will be inducted in the Musical Influence Award category. Finally, the Passy Jones Entertainment Group co-chairwoman Susan DePassy will receive the Ahmet Edgern Award. Now, I can't help but look at that category there for the Musical Excellence Award category and see that, wait a minute, Jimmy Buffett, we're putting him, right, like he doesn't automatically just go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Dionne Warwick, oh my God, Dionne Warwick. After the success of that documentary that came out, I think it was a year and a half ago by CNN, reminding the world just who the hell Dionne Warwick is. If that wasn't enough to, okay, this should definitely help seal the deal here for her to go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I just find it to be so convenient that, hey, sorry, we can't get you into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but we can get you into this crappy little wing over here instead. Like, I just think that's like a freaking slap in the face, man. And then Norman Whitfield. Norman Whitfield, who worked with Gordy Berry's Motown labels during the 1960s. This guy was credited as being one of the originators for that distinctive Motown sound back in the 60s, especially when it came to what basically was described as psychedelic soul and all that. He produced so many hits after hits for Marvin Gaye, The Temptations. Oh my God. This guy alone, for everything that he did for that Motown sounding thing, that alone should have been enough to get him in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame itself. So the fact that he's going into this other category, I find it to be pretty hilarious. 2024 nominees who were not included include Mariah Carey, Eric B. and Rakim, Jane's Addiction, Lenny Kravitz, Oasis, Sinead O'Connor, and Sade. Like, that is ridiculous. Can we all be in agreement, though, that as far as the number of rap acts that keep going in, whether they're nominated and or inducted, it's a much higher ratio compared to those veteran rock and roll bands like Ironhead, Motorhead, Dio, who still aren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Anthrax, Megadeth, like, Jesus. I mean, seriously, don't get me started on this. It's just, I've been complaining about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for years, ever since we first began doing this show. So that's how long it's been. And I'm just continuing to nitpick at this. But anyway, that's what's going on. I'm looking forward to seeing this ceremony. It should be an awesome night. Should be some really good memories. Should be some nice head-turning performances. Speaking of head-turning performances, if you guys have not had a chance, go out of your way and check out Metallica's cover of a John Elton classic song. I have posted it on my social media feed, but you guys can go on YouTube and you can actually watch the performance. It is, let me see if I can find it for you guys real quick. Bear with me. I'm going to give you guys the name of the song. But they made headlines because there was a Elton John there was an Elton John tribute show where they had recognized his work and all that. And Annie Lennox of the Eurythmics, you had a few people that were there that had represented, but Metallica really had stole the show with their cover of Elton John's, hang on here. Yeah, I'm actually, yep. Funeral for a Friend / Love Lies Bleeding. Freaking badass. Check that out, especially if you're a big Elton John fan. Check out that song. Check out Elton's version first to really prepare yourself. Check out Elton's version first and then listen to Metallica's version. I love it when a really good artist can come in and they can take a song and they can make it their own. I've heard so many acts over the decades where just beat for beat, verse for verse, the whole melody execution, they're just matching the original, and it's, okay, that's not fun. That's not really creative. If anything, you're just honoring, with your own rendition, basically, but hey, shake it up, right? Really, really do what you need to do to make this song be your own. Do it in a way as if you freaking wrote it, you created the music for it, and there's some really good acts that have done just that. Johnny Cash's version of 9 Inch Nails' Hurt. That's a damn good example. My Girl, I'm thinking about The Cure, Love Song. Adele, fantastic version of that song. Made it her own. Speaking of Adele, and I hope someday it sees the light of day, she did a great version of George Michael's Fast Love. Anybody that watched that George Michael documentary, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And fans had created a petition trying to see if that song could get released. It has yet to happen. Hopefully it will sometime soon. Hall and Oates, really nice version of what's the song? I'll Be Around. and Love TKO by Teddy Pendergrass. They did some really good, made it their own, right? So you get the gist that I'm talking about. Metallica did a really good job on that one. So definitely check that out. All right, so your next edition of the RCWR show going to be coming at you guys this Friday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, or maybe a little bit sooner. We'll talk about the WWE draft, night one results, go over some wrestling news, little tidbits that went down since last we were on the air. We'll also talk some more little interesting little things. If you guys got some questions, I'll make sure I put up a Q&A thread. I'll put that up on YouTube, and you guys can pretty much go that way. Or if you want to email them, the rcwrshow@gmail.com. Make sure you put the THE in there, the rcwrshow@gmail.com, and you can get your questions in that way. You could definitely submit them while we're live on the air too, as well. Just look out for the thread. If you're following me on social media, which is X, YouTube, Facebook at the RCWR show, you'll see the thread. You can just post there. We'll have a lot of fun. I promise you guys. We'll go as long that night for the show. We'll go as long as you guys want the show to go before we get ready to wrap it up and everything. Until next go around. Oh yeah, by the way, shout out to friends of the show. Shout out to Mitch Thomas and Joe Numbers of Wrestling Soup. Shout out to Julian Cannon of Digiday and the Nocturnal. Shout out to our sponsors as well. Love you guys. Shout out to those of you that's been representing, checking out the show on demand and on the downloads. Appreciate the love and support. Keep it going, y'all. And that is going to do it. Until next go around, wishing all of y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. See you next go around, my pretty babies. Take care.
Thanks for listening. An Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive.